Thor: Love and Thunder's Tessa Thompson explains Valkyrie's big change. With Thor: Love and Thunder's upcoming release, Tessa Thompson has opened up about the major new change for her character Valkyrie. In Ragnarok, Valkyrie was introduced as a warrior-turned-scrapper who loved a drink and was the Grandmaster's favorite for finding prized champions. By the end of Avengers: Endgame, she is King of Asgard as Thor gives her the throne. Thompson admitted that in Love and Thunder, Valkyrie now has a job she loves, looking after the kingdom, but is disgruntled as she's stuck on the sidelines away from the battlefield. With this one, we also talked about the idea of someone that has a job that they really love, but they're also kind of disgruntled, she told Digital Spy and other outlets at a recent press conference. She was a professional soldier for thousands of years and now finds herself kind of stuck in bureaucracy. However, Thompson teased that Valkyrie finds a new kick-ass sisterhood with Jane Foster, Natalie Portman. She's really missing being on the battlefield and missing her sisters, Thompson added. It's been great fun to get to have that again, with Natalie in particular as Mighty Thor. Thompson also reflected on how Valkyrie's narrative has been impacted by the trauma of losing her legion of warriors in battle against Hela, Cate Blanchett. The thing that I've really enjoyed about these films, and certainly I think something that Stan Lee talked a lot about, whether it's a villain or a hero, the thing sometimes that connects them to their power, whether it's used for good or bad, is actually their trauma, she began. When we first met Valkyrie, in Ragnarok, she had a tremendous amount of it, and she was dealing with that by drinking a lot. Thompson revealed that she worked closely with director Taika Waititi to reinvent the nature of a female superhero for Valkyrie. For Taika and I, we talked a lot about, appending what a female superhero looks like, she explained. That you have this moment where she comes out, and you think it's gonna be sort of that badass thing, and then, she immediately falls over. That was really fun to both try to inhabit the spirit and the physicality that it takes to be a hero, which is its own skill, and also to allow her to be fun and sort of goofy. Thor: Love and Thunder has a release date of July 7th in the UK and July 8th in the US. Joe Russo reveals how Chris Hemsworth's Extraction 2 is different to first Netflix movie. Despite its mixed reaction, Extraction became hugely popular on Netflix, and Joe Russo has teased that the sequel will be a different movie. Joe, alongside brother Anthony, talked about their next producing project, Extraction 2, with Chris Hemsworth returning as Tyler Rake, via Collider. Despite the original movie's cliffhanger, the final scene dropped a not-so-subtle hint of the character's survival. And the Avengers: Endgame director teased that the follow-up to the action movie will be a complete 180, and fans will see something completely unexpected. It's great. It's very different from Extraction 1, which we like. It's its own movie in that regard, said Joe, who wrote it. He continued, it has a different color schematic. It's set in a different part of the world. It has a different pace, a different tone than the first one. And that, to us, is an interesting way to approach serializing a story, is that it's more surprising and unexpected, and you're not going to get the exact same movie that you got the last time. So we're really excited about it, and we think it was beautifully shot. Hemsworth's fantastic in it. And we're excited to share it with audiences, added Russo. In December 2021, the Thor star took to Instagram to reveal filming had begun in Prague, alongside the film's director Sam Hargrave. Two things are very different from the last film. 1, it's very, very cold. 2, I'm alive. How? You'll have to find out, watch the movie, teased Hemsworth in the behind-the-scenes clip. Meanwhile, a few days before the Marvel star's Instagram post, Hargrave had also taken to the social media platform to announce that the first day's shooting had wrapped. That's a wrap on day 1 of Extraction 2 with the train location, said Hargrave. We got a lot of snow today, but it looks pretty great on camera, so we'll take it. The Man from Toronto on Netflix needs more Kaley Cuoco. Despite all efforts from its co-stars, the undeniably funny Kevin Hart and oddball talent Woody Harrelson, The Man from Toronto, out now on Netflix, is a really bad movie. Not so bad it's good but just bad, with jokes that fall flat, a wildly implausible setup and so little faith in its audiences and characters' intelligence it actually feels insulting. The premise, a mistaken identity comedy mixed with an action caper, could have worked, especially with these two actors, but a dumb script can't be elevated by Harrelson and Hart's odd couple partnership. When Teddy Jackson, Hart, a dim-witted entrepreneur with an inexplicably patient wife Lori, Jasmine Matthews, is mistaken for a grizzled hitman, he and said hitman known only as the Man from Toronto, Harrelson, must work together to make it out alive. And, if they're lucky, a bit richer. The fundamental problem starts with, well, the start. The whole reason Teddy ends up in the wrong place at the wrong time is that his home printer is out of toner, and when he prints the cabin information for his getaway with his wife, he can't read the address right. Except we all know that no one prints things out anymore. He would have booked the cabin on his phone or computer, which we know he has because he films really cringe-worthy athletics videos for YouTube, so why wouldn't he just paste the address into his smartphone GPS? It is such an egregiously anachronistic setup that it can't be ignored. What should be a saving grace of the film is the action, and while it isn't necessarily the worst action choreography we've seen, there's nothing new or innovative to commend. It's more of the same, and it's hard not to become weary of uninteresting gunfights in movies when there's so much more visually engaging action to be done. If you make it to the last 20 minutes, you'll get the payoff of a more interesting action scene in the gym, but we'd be surprised if many people stick it through to that point. Even this one goes on far too long, making an already long film feel longer. Kaley Cuoco steals a couple of scenes. She's the only person in the movie who seems to be having fun in any kind of organically engaged way. The movie feels like it should have had more of her for the genuine levity she offers as a balance to the stupid comedy foisted upon Hart and Harrelson. The pivotal moments are rote and, in fact, are almost note-for-note rip-offs of other action films, most notably, John Wick. While this isn't unexpected, there aren't enough original beats or moments throughout to forgive the ones that feel like we've seen them before. There are some funny lines. "I boiled a goddamn white woman because of you," makes you chuckle, but the gag goes on for 3 more lines, effectively killing the one spot of humor in the scene. This need to beat every moment, whether action, humor, or heart, into a pulp makes the Man from Toronto an unwatchable mess. Spiderhead is now out on Netflix. Featuring a star-studded cast with the likes of Marvel and DC stars Chris Hemsworth, Thor, who also produced, and Journey Smollett, Birds of Prey. It also sees Top Gun, Maverick director Joseph Kosinski reunite with Miles Teller. However, a great cast does not a great film make. Nor does lauded source material. Spiderhead is based on the New Yorker short story by George Saunders titled Escape from Spiderhead. Both the film and the original story take place at Spiderhead, a drug testing facility run by the seemingly affable Steve Abnesti, Hemsworth, a scientist developing medicine that he thinks will change the world. Despite the prisoner-prison guard power dynamic between them, Jeff, Teller, and Steve have a cordial, if not friendly, relationship. Jeff, serving a sentence for manslaughter after a drunken car ride resulted in the death of his friend, has eyes for Lizzie Smollett, a fellow inmate come guinea pig. The prisoners, who volunteer for the Spiderhead program, are given reduced sentences in exchange for being tested upon. There are other prisoners, but the film is mostly a two-person show between Jeff and Steve, with some external gravitational pull in the form of Lizzie and Steve's hesitant assistant Mark. As the tests become more and more dramatic, Jeff begins to wonder if something more sinister isn't going on. Saunders' work often focuses on themes of our modern work-life balance, how it influences and is influenced by capitalism and other socio-political economic factors. Spiderhead shifts the lens from work to the pharmaceutical landscape, and how drugs impact our free will or lack thereof. As a short story, these themes can be teased apart with scalpel-like precision. Told in first person from the point of view of prisoner Jeff, Escape from Spiderhead is a rapid descent into the epiphany that consciousness itself is a form of imprisonment, and it interrogates the blurry line between organic emotion and synthesized emotion. Unfortunately, when blown out in size to fit a feature-length film, the exactitude of the story is lost. Sharply written dialogue becomes bloated monologue and the swift pace at which the story moves is lost entirely. The film is more plot than it is character, and while that is pretty de rigueur for thrillers whose reveals are more important than individual character growth, there isn't anything compelling about Jeff, Steve, or even Lizzie to make them worth watching. As a result, you don't really care what happens to them. There are no context clues for Spiderhead to place it in a reality that we know. We never see an iPhone, though Lizzie does listen to music on headphones, and Jeff plays with an Etch-a-Sketch. The consoles used to control the medicine packs look like smartphones, but the packs themselves are clunky and subject to error when shaken around. This discord between modern and Luddite could have, in a more skillfully put-together film, been a further condemnation or examination of the tech industry, how it fits with the pharmaceutical industrial complex, and how that trickles down to have the worst impacts on the most vulnerable in society. But Spiderhead doesn't say that. It doesn't really say anything, and that's a crime almost worse than simply being bad.